Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan with us right now. Senator, thank you for your patience. Were you aware of this, Senator?
Yeah, Neil, I was briefed this morning from Northcom. The Northern Command commander was briefed me, and I believe Senator Murkowski and our governor about that they had identified this latest object over the sovereign space of Alaska. And as I have been doing quite regularly, including in this classified briefing yesterday with senior Pentagon officials, I strongly encouraged the Northern Command, U.S. Northern Command, to shoot this latest impingement on Alaskan sovereign airspace down. I commend them for doing that, and since then I've been briefed by Northern Command as well as the Alaska Command military members based in our state on the mission. And I do just want to say one thing about the mission. This is varsity-level military operations. A lot of people don't understand the challenge and professionalism and just the incredible military effort that occurs when you do an op like this. Alaska is a huge state with giant airspace. This included F-22s, F-35s, F-16s, Alaska National Guard tankers. We have rescue operation units that are on the ground right now doing a search for this operation. So really, really incredible work that the Alaska military has done and is continuing to do. This is an ongoing op right now over the skies of Alaska, some of it at night, some of it in really difficult weather. So every American should know and appreciate the professionalism that has gone into this operation. These are not, by any measure, easy military operations to conduct.
Senator, I'm just trying to get the timeline that you mentioned. You were notified this morning. By that, are you in Alaska right now, sir, in Washington?
No, I'm on the East Coast.
Okay, so this morning East Coast time, well before
Correct.
This sort of just got blurted out at a John Kirby presser, 11 minutes into that presser. When you were told at that point, were you told that this object was about to be shot down at that time?
No, again, they were tracking it.
Right.
Our aircraft were tracking it. This actually came over into Alaska airspace in the area Nome, which is western Alaska by the Bering Strait, and then it was shot down eventually over Dead Horse. And by the way, we talk about Alaska being remote, but remember, Dead Horse is that's Prudhoe Bay. That's one of the most important energy areas in America. Right now, the recovery operations are taking place about 8 miles into the Arctic Ocean, but remember, that's frozen, so you have a good opportunity, hopefully, to find the pieces. But remember, Neil, this is much smaller than what was shot down off the coast of South Carolina.
True.
They think it's about the size between a 55-gallon drum and a small Volkswagen. So that could be a challenge to actually find in the ice off the coast of Alaska. But at the time, I was informed of the tracking of this, of the seriousness with which Northern Command was taking this. And like I said, my strong recommendation, which has been throughout this entire last couple of weeks, is if we have unidentified objects that threaten our country or are spying on our country, that, you know, we should take the effort to shoot these down. We need to do it safely, but what I've been talking about is if this is another Chinese incursion, and we don't know that yet, and they've emphasized that in their briefings to me, but what I've been saying, I said it this morning on a news show, Neil, is we need to reestablish a sense of deterrence. If the Chinese think they can willfully violate American airspace, we need to make sure they understand otherwise. So, again, I commend the military for taking this action, a very challenging military action that they carried out very professionally, and wish those who are still involved in the op on the rescue side, on the recovery side, good luck and safety, right? It's tough to operate
Absolutely.
way up in Alaska. It's very cold. It's going to get dark early. And right now our military is doing an exceptional job.
I do notice when you talk about the difference, too, the criticism had been in the balloon and the notification that the Montana's governor and senators got. Of course, they didn't get any when it was flying overhead at the time. It sounds like that was not the case here. You and your Senate colleague, Senator Murkowski, of course, and your governor, Governor Dunleavy, were all notified. Were you notified as well afterwards that it was indeed shot down?
Yes, like I said, I've had briefings from Northern Command,
okay,
which was responsible for this, and I had briefings from the Alaska Command, which is a subcomponent command of Northern Command and NORAD on the operation. And so, yes, I've been briefed on the results of the operation as well.
Speaking of Alaska, sir, and I just want to be clear, and you've been very patient, I very much appreciate it. The FAA is reporting that airspace is closed in northern Alaska to supposedly support these defense activities to get this and to retrieve this object. Is that still the case, and will that go on indefinitely? Do you know?
Well, when these kind of ops take place, Neil, as you can imagine, what you've seen in this case, it was coordination between our active duty forces, our military forces, but it also involves coordination with the FAA, coordination, I'm sure, right now already with the FBI to look at, again, on the recovery side. So if that's what you're hearing right now, I imagine that that's happening. Remember, Alaska plays a strategic role for our country in so many ways. We're the cornerstone of missile defense for the entire nation. All the radar and ground-based missile interceptors are in Alaska. We're the hub of air combat power. We have over 100 fifth-generation fighters, F-22s, F-35s, F-16s in Alaska, given our strategic location. But the FAA in Alaska also plays a very, very critical role, not just for Alaska, but for every American who flies over from the United States to Asia. Right? All of that comes through Alaska airspace. So our FAA partners in Alaska do an exceptional job for every American flying overseas. So the coordination that has to happen in an op like this, and remember, as the general said, this was at about a 40,000-foot altitude, unlike the spy balloon from China last week. 40,000 feet, that starts to get very dangerous for just commercial air traffic. So that is another reason you're hearing in the briefs that they decided to shoot this down, which, again, not only did I support, but prior to them doing it, I encouraged. But the FAA, as you mentioned, I've not seen that directly, but if they close the airspace over there, it's because there are ongoing military flights, military recovery operations, including some of our outstanding air rescue teams in Alaska, our National Guard, that do exceptional work. And they're either on the ground right now or they're going to be on the ground trying to recover the fragments of this object, which, again, was much smaller than the one shot down off the coast of South Carolina. But I'll tell you this, Neil, one other thing that I think we really need to start emphasizing here. Obviously, we need to check out and be very diligent on the connection to China. Again, the military has made it clear right now they have not indicated one way or the other on whether this involves a connection. But as we've seen with the Chinese Communist Party in the last week, you can't trust them, right? They're still calling the last balloon a weather balloon that has gone off course. Well, that, of course, is not truthful. and it's par for the course for them. They lie very frequently to the world. But secondly, the other thing we need to be looking at is very much focusing on our own appropriate sensors, systems, and capabilities. That I think this is a wake-up call, not just for the military in Alaska, but for the whole country. You know, we need to be able to detect things that are slow, like balloons, that are really, really fast, like hypersonics, that fly really, really low, like cruise missiles. And right now, our Homeland Defense needs an upgrade in all those areas. And I think this is a wake-up call in that regard.
All right. Well, someone is trying to get our attention. We'll see who is the author behind this. Senator Dan Sullivan, thank you very much. The Alaska Republican joining us